Look how fucked up my hair is. Hey, here we are.
On.
My hair is all messed up. I'm trying to fix it. I don't think there's anybody there yet. I did announce it like on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that, but what do we want to talk about?
Well, what's the show about? Didn't you have some
I did have a couple, yeah. Okay. Excuse me. I got the Rona. But I don't think I'd have, I hope not. But yeah, so I had one case that I wanted to talk about just because I was just listening to Criminally Listed, the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about some cases that like really old cold cases that have been solved in 2020 that were just recently solved. And it was like a really interesting case. Well, the weird thing about it is that the reason why this one stood out was because I could have fucking sworn that I wrote about this girl in my Faceless Villain 2. It would have been in volume 2 because it happened in 1963. And, you know, they just solved it this year. And then I was like, God, this like the details of the case sounded so familiar. But then when I went back and looked at my book, it wasn't in there. So I'm like, what the hell was I thinking then? Maybe it was something else that was really similar.
Okay, so today we got an old time cold case that got solved. We're going to talk about that. What else are we going to talk about?
I had a couple of shout outs, like new patrons, new everything like that.
All right. Everybody's showing up now.
Everybody.
Everybody's showing up. Got Bee's Nest. Got Melissa.
Always.
Got Sandra.
And that's Melanie there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Melanie.
And then Nile.
Yeah. Hey, you guys.
Yeah.
Yay.
Everybody from last night. They're slowly showing up. And then we got 12 people on. Yep.
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that show last night. I had a good time doing it. I had a good time doing that show last night. It ended up being like 3.75 hours long.
Yeah, I got pretty hammered.
You were very hammered, but you were keeping it together though. You were like,
I was trying to hold it together.
You were still pretty coherent, I think. Well, you drank considerably more than I did because I was like busy going through the case, and it's like I ended up having one whole drink on the show, and then I did like half of it and then I drank the rest of it when we went back into the room. But then we started watching Cinemassacre about their VHS box art. Yeah. Which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So see what everybody's up to.
I didn't even, this shit happened again. So, and is the only time that I was just kind of like, I'm going to sleep in today. Because I didn't get to sleep in yesterday morning because Pooky woke us up at like 6 in the fucking morning. So I said, God damn it, I'm going to sleep in on Sunday. Even just till 8 o'clock, man, because that's like really late for me. So, of course, what happens? Pooky decided she must have seen something outside, like on the porch or something. Yeah. At like, I don't even know what time it was. 6:37. I don't know.
She was trying to beat the damn door down.
And she was like over there going, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, would you guys let me out? Yeah. And like smacking the fucking vertical blinds.
There's a window right next to me.
Yeah,
against the wall,
with, like with horizontal blinds on.
She's jumping up and grabbing, smacking the damn blinds. She does that when she wants something. Hey, wake up!
Yeah, dude, because she knows it's really loud, like right next to your head. And also, the bedside table, all the stuff you have, she'll pop up there. You'll see her little head, and then she'll like take her little arm and pull something off of it. Yeah, so it makes like a bunch of noise. Like, get up. Get up. Yeah. I'm making all this noise right by your face.
She's not like a cat. She's a lot like a monkey. She's a lot like a monkey.
And then she kept like jumping up on my chest and like fucking laying across me like that. Like,
yeah, she's funny. She wanted out. She saw lizards.
Yeah. She's like, I need to go out there and chase those. It really is. And it's like, I don't know. I like I said, I don't really like her going outside, but I know she doesn't go far, especially in the summertime. She just mostly just sits on the porch.
All right. Xanada showed up. Tammy, Cheryl, Mark.
Woohoo.
Mark's farting from his head. Zachary's hair.
From the heart, yeah.
Yeah. He farts from the heart. Okay, that's the head. My eyes are fucking. It'd be better if you fart from the head.
A head fart's just like a burp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was...
Bee's nest there.
Yeah, evening. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. We're still a little bit. I don't know. I don't feel too bad. I'm not all that hungover.
No, I'm good.
Even though I didn't get much sleep. Although we just ate. He made biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, made fresh
hard-boiled eggs for brunch.
Yeah,
or lunch, I guess.
Yeah, and that was
man, it was so good, and I was just like eating it. And now I'm like, so much. I mean, that's all I ate today, but
white pepper gravy.
Yeah,
with sausage in it.
It was really good.
It's a redneck thing. Yeah.
Like I said, that's why we all have diabetes and high cholesterol.
Butter, flour, and fucking cream. Fucking pieces of sausage.
All the good shit, man.
Yeah. It's that same stuff you get like on a Southern omelet when you're in Denny's.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys probably know.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, Cracker Barrel. That's where all the crackers are.
Well,
they're gonna fucking ban that shit. Say it's racist.
Cracker Barrel.
That's where all the crackers are. It's a whole barrel of crackers.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever been to a Cracker Barrel.
I've been to like a damn gift shop.
I know. Well, they make like a lot of their money, like through the,
It's just old people.
It is, yeah. It's like old rednecky people.
Every time I went there, but they're everywhere.
They are, yeah.
It's just old people.
Well, and usually most of them too are like right by the sides of highways. You know what I mean? I've never been to that. I've been to like other kind of similar restaurants with like a similar clientele, which like Bob Evans and stuff. Is that even still around? Yeah,
Bob Evans is a fucking big step down from Cracker Barrel, though.
It is, yeah.
Cracker Barrel actually has fantastic breakfast. The breakfast is really good.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I can't really eat the rest of their stuff, like chicken fried steak. It's just too, like I said, it's good, but the older I get, the more my stomach rebels at like anything that's like over a certain amount of calories. It's just kind of like I'll eat it, but then I'm just like, oh, the rest of the day I'm just like hating life.
I'm gonna have to start starving you.
I know.
So I put you on calorie restriction.
Well, yeah, I honestly I feel better when I'm on calorie restriction.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like I love to eat, but if I eat like too much in one sitting, I just feel like complete crap like the rest of the day. And it's like not worth it anymore. Getting old sucks, man. It really does.
All right. Do you want to start this case here?
Well, yeah. Oh, I wanted to do a couple shout outs, like I said.
Shout outs then.
All right. So we have after we recorded the show last night, we got a new patron named Amy H. So hey there and welcome.
She might be in.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah. And also thank you, Jason, for your PayPal donation. I also got that. I got that this morning. And we are going to give you a shirt, I swear, because he has sent us like a whole bunch of like donations, and it's like he keeps saying, "Where's my shirt? Where's my shirt?" And I'm just like, I know, we just haven't done it yet.
Just make sure everything's written down, and we got, we'll hook him up.
Yeah, like I said, it's like, I'm trying to keep track of everybody that's like, giving us significant donations and stuff like that. Also, I mentioned this on the show last night, but in case you weren't around, you haven't listened to it yet. My short story collection, Hopeful Monsters, the second edition of it is out. The first edition came out in 2009, but the new edition has like several extra stories in it. And, I redesigned it with a new cover and everything. And the print version and the ebook version are up on Amazon. The audiobook version will probably be up in a couple of weeks because I have uploaded it and it's going undergoing the ACX quality control process. Yeah. So unless something is the matter with the files, which hopefully there aren't, shouldn't.
Yeah. With our new equipment and our new microphones and sound booth that we have in there, it sounds a lot better than those early ones that we did.
Well, yeah, because even then, I mean, and this, the Yeti is good for the podcast, but it's like for the books, we have that. I have that Scarlett Solo or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a $200 mic.
It's really, it was a really expensive one. And it has like the pop filter, it has like all the stuff, and we just have it like on an arm, like inside the closet, and like, with all the
I put all the soundproofing
in there, so I just go in the closet.
And unfortunately I couldn't hook up any kind of fan for ventilation, so she just, because it would the noise.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to run a fan.
So she just sits in there and reads and bakes. In that
well, I can stand in there now because like you put in a shelf at like because I was like, I don't really like to sit down and read because I feel like all crunched up. So I was like, I'd prefer to stand up, and then I can like move around and I can be more animated.
I think all of your audiobooks have been updated with the new microphone. I think
most of them are. I maybe some of the I don't know. I don't remember if I did Rochdale and Fire and Whispers.
Okay,
those are shorter. I could probably do.
What about Mammoth?
I might have done Mammoth. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. I'd have to look back through my shit because I lose track of like shit that I do because I have so much.
Should have wrote that
because I have 40,000 projects going. Well, sometimes I do write it down, but then sometimes it gets written down like on a scrap of paper somewhere, and then the scrap of paper gets lost or thrown away or something like that. Also, we're gonna do, like I said, this is just Sidetrack show, so we're just gonna talk about whatever. Tomorrow we will probably do a live stream at 2 Eastern time, and it'll probably be a matinee, a movie review. And I think we're gonna do Scare Package, which is a new horror anthology film. And it's funny because Shudder put it up first. They put it up on Joe Bob's Drive-In Reviews show. And I started watching it on there, but I think it was like a Friday night or a Saturday night, and I was like pretty hammered. And I think I fell asleep like partway through. So it's like I don't really remember anything that happened because I was like drunk and then I fell asleep. So I'm going to watch it again because it's from 2020. So we'll probably review that tomorrow. I think it's 7 different stories. And I can't remember if this is exactly right, but I think one of the segments was written and or directed by one of the guys behind the new MST. You know what I mean? The one that was on Netflix. Yeah. That didn't get fucking renewed. I'm so fucking
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I'm so
Maybe they wanted too much money.
I don't know. It just made me so angry. Like they did like The Return, and that was like however many episodes that was. It was like 10 or 12 episodes. And then they did The Gauntlet, and that was only 6 episodes. And as soon as I saw that it was only 6 episodes, I was like, uh-oh.
You knew something was up.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Because that's usually, that's what happened like back in the old days when they were on Comedy Central and they gave like their last season on Comedy Central. It was like a 6-season episode. And they were just kind of like, yeah, that means we have to like go someplace else because we're about to get canned.
Maybe Shudder will pick it up.
I wish they would. It's like, because I really, really got into like the new show. Yeah. It's different than the old one, but it's like, I dug it. I liked it. Like, I liked all the comedians on it and shit. It was like pretty funny. And, I liked it. It was a different riffing style. It was a little faster paced and like a little less obscure, I guess.
Yeah.
But it depends. Like sometimes I'm in the mood for that. Sometimes I'm in the mood for the older ones. It's just kind of like sometimes you're in the mood for a Joel episode. Sometimes you're in the mood for a Mike episode. Sometimes you're in the mood for a new one. You know what I mean? But I'm just like really sad that they're not bringing it back. And I really kind of hope. There's so many fucking channels and streaming platforms and stuff like that. There has to be somebody that will pick them up. And especially now that they did Kickstarter and they raised all that money and they built the sets and everything like that. And I presume they still have all those. So because they've always operated out of their own, their own like studio or their own warehouse. So it's not like they have these huge overheads now. So I don't imagine it would be that difficult to
The people that were working on that though were fucking Hollywood based. A lot of fucking fucked up shits that happening down there in their economy with the pandemic and everything.
Well, the old show, they never went out there. They always went. Their studio was in Minneapolis.
All right, so maybe because I know that what's his name lives in Hollywood, so maybe he just went up to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they moved it somewhere where because they did have like kind of bigger names on it and stuff. Yeah. But I know like in the old times, they just had like a warehouse space that they rented like in an office park. Yeah. And then they just built the set in there. It was in Minneapolis because that's where they were all from.
Right. Because a lot of shit's happening with movies and corporations with advertising. I just saw an article. There's a lot of these big corporations that are afraid to advertise now. Because if they say something, for instance, like the American culture is so politically polarized that they can't say anything. They'll either be seen as not supporting, you know what I mean, one side or the other. You know what I'm talking about? So a lot of these corporations aren't advertising anymore. And the same thing with some of these people that normally made movies. They're almost like afraid to make a movie. No matter what they make, it will be attacked by one side or the other. So who knows what this is going to do? They're just waiting for all this shit to blow over.
Yeah,
I don't think it will, but
I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so Mango Badger said he watched the Creep Show series last week, which is fantastic.
Good,
yeah, I really liked it. It's like some of them were, better than others, obviously, but I think most of the episodes were like really, really good. I might go through and like watch them again. Actually, so I think we only watched them one time.
You know what I got loaded up, ready to see?
What's that?
Again, Omega Man.
Oh, you
with
did?
the Hest.
The Hest.
The Hest. Yeah.
At the behest of
Hest. At the behest of the Hest. I saw, dude. On eBay they sell these little fucking pre-made dolls. You know what I mean? Where you can buy the action figure and you can buy a head, and the heads look like actors.
Yeah.
And then you can buy. Well, somebody made.
Yeah, I've seen that.
A Neville from
That's
Omega
a great
Man.
idea, actually.
Just out of stock parts. The guns, the uniform, and everything. Well, I was checking through there, and they got a fucking Kurt Russell head that has long hair and an eye patch.
Nice.
And they would put that on there and make a Snake Plissken.
Oh.
Yeah, but you have to find all the little fucking clothes that go.
Well, yeah.
You know, if you can't find it, you have to make it.
Well, because I guess you'd have to like skirt like copyright issues and like, you know, you can't have things of like actors like without their permission. Like it's recognizably that as because
it's recognizably them though.
Yeah.
They just kind of spell things slightly different and they tweak it just a little bit. So you could say, well, that's not really Kurt Russell, but it is.
It's Smirk Krussell.
Yeah, right. Right. And I think they're just doing it on, I think it's not companies. I think it's individuals making them with 3D printers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They scan the shit.
Because all you'd have to do is like, you know, do it like in a 3D program and like just print it out with the shit.
Print it out.
Eventually, I would like to get a 3D printer so I can make my own pieces like for my board games and stuff. Because as it is now, and I'm happy I'm using the Game Crafter. I actually uploaded a shit ton of new games, but I have to like order them to proof them out. And then I'm going to put a website up that because I have like fucking 10 games done because I just can't stop myself. But, you know, I like that site. It's slightly expensive. Like if you want like really good parts and everything. So I think eventually I want to get to a point where I can just make stuff at home, like make my own pieces, like custom and everything like that. But, you know, we'll get there. I mean, the 3D printers have really come down a lot in price. So I think maybe in a year or two, I should be able to afford one. We'll see how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah. Omega Man, you can only find it on DVD. That's what I have. DVD.
They don't have a Blu-ray of the Omega Man?
I couldn't find it.
For Christ's sake.
Zach's saying, I got to get my dad on the show to tell stories. My dad's not really sure what the internet is. He's heard about it.
Yeah. How old is your dad?
He's not that old. He's just kind of.
He's in his 70s. Yeah.
Yeah. He knows about the internet. He just doesn't really understand
the
impact of it. And he's like, what is that kind of like television? You know, some people just didn't make the transition into the modern era. You talk to my dad, it's like going into a time machine back to like 84.
Yeah.
It's like going back in time.
He doesn't like a lot of, and I've noticed like a lot of older people don't get that you can like have a job and like make money
on the internet. Yeah. Oh, that just blows their fucking mind. Well, so that's not a real job.
That's not a real job.
And you might be making a shit ton more money than them, you know, but that's not a job. Yeah, because they just they're just from another time. But you know, a lot of shit's going obsolete. You know, like universities are going obsolete. They said in the next 5 years, half of them will be out of business because they've been running in the red for so long. You go to these universities and you learn something that's very out of date, and then you get a degree that nobody gives a shit about, you know, some social studies or whatever. Most of what they were teaching was so fucking out of date. When I went,
thank you, Nilly.
Oh, yes, indeed.
3D prints are fun. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Just show me them flash bulbs. Like after I got out of the Army, I did 2 semesters of college and realized for accounting. And then I realized, I went, wait a minute, hold on. Excel does this.
Yeah, it's like I can just like.
I'm like, there's no future in this. Why am I spending all this fucking money on this shit? You know, because I wasn't in the box type of thinker, and it all came true. You know what I mean? Most of what they educate people for and have been educating people for has all been rendered obsolete, replaced by some kind of app or software. It's just you're not talking about a world that is human centric. It's all going to be computer programs.
I mean, I have a degree in graphic design, but I just did 2 years at a technical school. Yeah. Just to learn all the programs. And honestly, I'm glad I went because I really liked, all the classes and I really liked all the feedback and I learned a lot. But honestly, most of the shit that I learned about it, I learned on the job. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The future of education is going to be trade schools and skills. Like really, if you want to make money right now, in the southern states of the United States, you want to be a fucking AC specialist. If you can fucking get somebody's air conditioner working, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Yeah. Especially during the summer. It's just
because we just never have enough air conditioning people.
You're right. And it's a fucking miserable job, but they literally make more than a doctor with a lot less overhead.
Because look at every single person that lives here needs air conditioning. And every summer, thousands and thousands of people's air conditioning breaks because air conditioning is not really meant to work in this climate. It has to work very, very hard. I mean, we've only lived
under a lot of stress.
We've only lived in this house for maybe 8 or 9 years.
We've gone through 2 outside.
Our air conditioning is broken like at least 2 or 3 times.
It runs fucking 24/7.
The air conditioning at my grandmother's house where I used to live, her air conditioning broke at least once every summer, and somebody had to come fix it because it gets into July or August and the air conditioning, they just can't take it anymore. It's just too hot and it has to work too hard, to keep things cool. And, you know.
If you guys have ever seen the movie Office Spaces, Office Spaces or Office Space?
Space.
Office Space.
Just one space.
That was the kind of world, when I got out of the Army, that was the world I dealt with. All those jobs went to India. Now they're all fucking gone. They're working in those dens. And what the idea was, they had people that went to college to get those jobs too. And what the promise of fucking university was, is that it was almost kind of a religious promise. It kind of was doing what the church would do, sell dispensation, like sell you a ticket into heaven. You could go to a university. When you got out, you get an easy job. You didn't have to work outside. You go work in the AC, work sitting down behind a desk with all the fucking important people. Yeah, and then you get in there and you realize how much of that shit sucks, and then they outsource you to fucking India. So why'd you spend all that money on an education to get you a fucking desk job? You had to fucking leave it eventually anyway and go work as a dishwasher. It just, you know what I mean? The promise that universities held out was false. It's just, when I was going through high school, they were telling us that everyone would have to get a degree in order to get a job. So it was really just a racket. You know?
Yeah, and it did go that way for a while, but I think that
it's falling apart now.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be just like that going forward.
It was because the banks had worked out some shit with the damn colleges. They're like, we'll fucking hand out the loans and it'll be this and that. And it was just a scam. It was, you know. I
mean, like I said, I'm glad I went, but I got a grant and I went to a technical school, so it was like way, way cheaper than a university.
And they actually taught you something you could use.
And yeah, they taught me something useful.
Right.
And like I said, I knew a lot of it anyway, but I learned like a lot of the technical shit that, you know, that I would have figured out on my own, but it was nice to have, like,
and you can take a lazy fuck and give him a fucking fancy degree. That doesn't mean he's going to fucking survive. You know what I mean? You either work or you don't. You either make money or you don't.
I mean, honestly, I really kind of like, I really like the way, you know, when we were going back to what we were saying before about old people and not thinking that working on the internet is a real job.
Yeah.
Which I have encountered a little bit.
They don't understand it.
They don't really understand like how you can make money off that. I'm like, well, you know, I write books and I publish those like I have like a publishing company and I publish those. It's like, you know, I can do almost all my graphic design work online. Every now and then I have to go to a meeting with somebody, but not very often anymore. It's pretty much done all through email and everything. And, you know, and then we do the show, and that's pretty much.
I remember the environment though that they're talking about. It was very fucking late 1800s, early 1900s style fucking labor, where you had a whole room full of people working behind keyboards and shit like that, and a dude walking around watching, making sure they're all working, filling out forms and shit. You know what I mean? It's not the way the world is anymore.
Well, yeah,
not for the average person.
And to be honest,
supervisors,
I'll work whether somebody's watching me or not.
You could have all those people working at home.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? You don't need an office.
Some people like, you know, slack off and shit like that.
But then replace them with another one.
Most people wouldn't. I mean, I think that it's overinflated to think that people need people breathing down their neck, like, to get them to do shit all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a few people are unmotivated.
Well, those offices, they're wasting money on brick and mortar. They don't have to. Then they're wasting all that fuel commuting to go to it. And then they're wasting fucking, you know what I mean? All this money just to have somebody work at a computer.
Yeah,
they got that computer at home,
which you can do in your house.
Yeah, you don't even have to buy your computer.
And like I said, now they have fucking Zoom and everything like that. You can even have meetings from your fucking house, like everybody's doing now during the pandemic. It's like, well, we should have been doing that shit a long time ago.
And the companies were.
I don't need to go no place. Come on.
Companies spent millions of dollars buying computers and then upgrading them every 3 or 4 years. All that shit's gone.
Yeah. Everybody
has their own computer at home, and if your shit isn't up to snuff, then you don't get the job.
Yeah, you know? I mean, Mango Badger, he says, I've been loving working from home through all this. Yeah, it's like this. Honestly, this is what I always wanted to do, is like not have to go Because, you know, I worked real jobs
commuting
for like 20 odd years.
You're putting miles on your car, tearing up your car, driving it to their fucking place of
And I hate driving. I just hate commuting. And especially like
burning up your gasoline to fucking keep their shit running.
Right. And like for a long time, especially when we were living over here and I worked over on fucking Orange Blossom Trail. And that was fucking... It took me like an hour and a half to get there and an hour and a half back. You know what I mean? It's only like 20 miles, but the traffic is
and they don't pay you for your time during that commute. It was not.
That's what I mean.
It was not efficient system. It was not efficient.
I mean, now I can just, I get up at 6, I go for my walk, I do my coffee and everything like that. I am in front of my computer working by 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I just like work all day through, like until like 6 or 7 at night, and I get like a shit ton more stuff done. And
it's so funny because a lot of these corporations and all these people that were backing all this fucking, green environment system and higher efficiency, you're seeing that now with the pandemic, people working from home, but now they're going, oh shit, that means nobody fucking buys our gasoline. Nobody fucking comes to our places of business. They don't work for us anymore. Yeah. Shot yourself in the fucking foot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
and a more efficient system means all those middlemen vanish, which I think is a good thing. Yeah. Don't need them. They're kind of like parasitical because they didn't allow an individual to make money on their own.
They, like I said,
they kind of acted as gatekeepers and controllers.
It's so cool. Like I said, it's so cool that I can write books and publish them from my house. I can make board games and card games from my house. And
you can record from your house.
I can record from my house. It's like, we had to, pay for the equipment, but it wasn't, I mean, in the great scheme of things, it's way cheaper than like going to rent a studio or going.
NPR sent us to a studio.
Yeah.
I had to record a show there and you had to record a song there for a fucking thing. Anyway, so they spent all this money for this fucking studio. We showed up and I looked and they were using the same software.
They had like the
same fucking microphone we're working here and the same fucking kind of sound booth. And I'm like, this is a waste of time. We got one of these at the house.
Yeah.
And they spent fucking hundreds and hundreds of dollars on those sessions.
Yeah, I can't remember how much that it was a lot, that studio. Like it cost a lot to rent it per hour.
Yeah, waste of time. It smelled like weed because they were making so many rap albums and shit. The whole fucking place was just permeated with weed.
It was very weed smelling.
Weed smelling, yeah.
Yeah, that was like a big, I guess I didn't even know it was there. It's in like an industrial park.
Yeah.
It's small, but they've done like a lot of kind of big albums and like a lot of kind of famous people have hung out there. Most, like you said, mostly hip hop and stuff like that. So yeah, it was very weed soaked.
Yeah, it was like weed soaked.
We went in there.
It was fun.
I know, it was fun actually. We went there several times. Yeah. Like to do various things. All right, so let me talk about just this one case and then we can get off on some other stuff. Now, like I said, I could have sworn that I wrote about this case in Faceless Villain 2 because it happened in 1963. But when I went back and looked at my book earlier, I didn't find it in there. And I'm just like, that's really weird because like I said, the case sounded really familiar, but I just wanted to get into it because it actually just got solved not too long ago. This happened in Colorado. So this was the case of Peggy Beck. Her name was actually Margaret Beck, but she was called Peggy. She was 16 years old. She was a Girl Scout. And she was kind of like, she was at this Girl Scout camp, like with a whole bunch of other Girl Scouts. She was actually one of the older ones. So she was like one of the chaperones or something like that. And so what ended up happening was she was sleeping in a tent with, because it's one of those big camps where they had like a whole bunch of those like big tents and they had like wooden floors, you know what I mean? And it was 2 girls per tent. So the girl that she would have normally been bunking with was sick. And so that girl went and she slept in the infirmary. So Peggy Beck was sleeping in the tent by herself. Now, she didn't come to breakfast like the following morning and everybody got really suspicious. So they go in the tent and they find her laying in the bed dead. Now, the weird thing about this is that one, they didn't tell the other Girl Scouts because they thought the little kids would get upset. So they just it was the last day anyway. So they were just like, oh, everything's totally fine. Like all the Girl Scouts can like pack up and go home like it's normal. And they didn't call the cops for like 8 hours or something like that, which seems very weird because they were trying to get everyone out of there like before they alerted anybody. And the strange thing too was that for whatever reason, they were like, they thought she died of natural causes. I'm like, she's 16.
Well, some people might have heart defects.
Yeah, but then when the cops came and when the forensics and everything like that, and like I said, this was 1963, they discovered that she had been sexually assaulted and strangled. So murdered.
Yeah.
Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything.
Well, this case sounds familiar. You're sure we didn't
That's what I mean.
We did a show on this,
That's what I thought. I was like, we must
on
have, because the details of this are very...
Yeah.
Now, we did do... there was the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders, which was 3 little girls. And they were all killed in the tent. Okay. So it might have been that we were thinking of. Maybe. This was like an older girl.
Okay.
But maybe it's just weird because the name like sounded so familiar, and I could have sworn that I had written about it. And then when I was reading about it and saw the photos of the tent and everything, I'm like, wow, that looks really familiar. But it's like, I can't remember if we did a show about it, because I thought I read about it in my book, but I guess I didn't. So the thing about it is that, so when they, so they didn't have any suspects, they didn't have anything, like nobody had a clue, no witnesses, no nothing. So all they could do in 1963 was they had some scrapings of like skin from underneath her fingernails. And I guess after all this time, they still had that evidence like preserved. And this case is now 56 years old. So in 2007, they were able to take these fingernail scrapings and get like a partial DNA profile. And then they did it again in 2019 and got a much better one. And then they did the thing where they go back, just like they did with the Golden State Killer, where, you know, they go through the GED match thing and they go backward through the forensic genealogy to see if they could find a match. And they found one. It's this guy named James Raymond Taylor. Now, the thing about it is that they know it was him, but they don't know where he is. He very well may be dead, because he would be 80 years old now. Dead. Yeah. So he may be dead. And the last time that he was seen was in 1976, and that was in Las Vegas.
He's dead.
So he's probably dead, but they do know that that's who did it. That's whose DNA was underneath her fingernails.
What do they know about that dude?
The weird thing is that he didn't know her, and they're not entirely sure like how he ended up at this camp, or how he did live in that city, like, you know, near where she lived.
He lived in a house, apartment.
Yeah, and he was married.
He was married
at the time.
So you're not talking about a vagrant who's just like traveling.
Nope. They said the only thing they could think of was that he was into like ham radio, and they said that he did go to like the area where the Girl Scout camp was, like to test some of his radios and stuff like that. So maybe he just happened to be like in the area and he saw, but it was just a very weird.
He had something for young girls. Maybe he saw some Girl Scouts or something one time. He had some kind of fantasy. He said, I'm going to give them Girl Scouts. And then he started to try to find out where all the Girl Scout camps are and when they go. And he knew that they'd be there at that certain time. And he went down there and got one. Yeah. Something like that.
And that's
some kind of, because that's, you're talking about it, somebody who kind of like Charles Raider, or you know, like the original Night Stalker. What's his name? It was a pre-planned thing.
Joseph D'Angelo, yeah.
Yeah, D'Angelo.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't targeting her specifically, but because she was in there by herself.
Yeah, and it was a Girl Scout, and that's what he was looking for. He was a D'Angelo type guy, and it was a pre-planned thing. And he had a normal life. Yeah. Daytime life.
Yeah, he had.
That tells me he was high functioning. So it's going to be somebody like a BTK, or he was that same kind of personality. Yeah. Fantasy prone.
They said that he did have a criminal record. He'd been arrested for, I believe it was either sexual assault or something of that nature, like in 1972 and again in 1974.
He's a serial sex offender.
Yeah. So like I said, he was last seen in Vegas in 1976, but they don't know what happened to him after that. So he's probably dead. Like I said, if he was alive, he'd be 80 years old now.
Most men don't make it to 80.
In 1961, which was 2 years before the murder, he was living in Edgewater, Colorado, which was the same town that Peggy Beck was from. He had a wife and he had a kid, and he worked in a television repair shop. And they do think that he was still living in that town in 1963. So it's possible, because this was the same town where Peggy Beck lived, that he had seen her in town and knew that she was a Girl Scout and went there specifically targeting her. Or it could have just been that he wanted to kill a Girl Scout and she just happened to be the one that was in the tent by herself.
I think it's just a generic thing. He just was, he wanted a Girl Scout. He knew, because of their age, they were young. Yeah. He knew where they would all be. They'd be there in that camp. And he probably wasn't real choosy about how they looked. They probably all looked good enough for him. So he just grabbed one and ran.
So he just grabbed it. And like I said, he probably just raped and murdered the one that was in the tent by herself. Yeah.
Maybe he was probably in the wood line watching.
That's what I'm saying.
And he's like, that was
because normally she would have had her roommate, but her roommate was sick that night.
He was watching. He was watching with binoculars and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he said, "That one's living by herself. I'm gonna go get that one."
Yeah.
He's probably out there for several hours.
Yeah, I guess he just like fucking walked in the tent and just like raped and strangled her. No one heard a thing.
He might have been dressed up.
Maybe.
Dressed up as a park ranger or something like that.
Yeah, you'd think that was
something that he could help him talk his way in, keep her calm for a minute.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we saw
maybe he was dressed like a cop or something.
Yeah, because a lot of them do that kind of shit, don't they?
Yeah.
Like then, because then you can walk around without anybody thinking anything.
Yeah, and then, you know, the first few minutes of interaction with the fucking victim, they're calm, and then he can fucking trick them into doing something like putting handcuffs on, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, this unfortunately, like I said, it's solved. They know that he did it, but they don't know where he is or even if he's still alive.
He did.
I imagine he is probably dead. It's very unusual for dudes.
He probably died in obscurity.
Well, the fact that nobody knows where he is after 1976 it leads me to believe that he was either killed or
missing person
or something. You know, maybe he was put in prison for something and maybe changed his name. Because like I said, this is like 70s, so it's probably like much easier to like change your name, change your identity. And like I said,
his wife didn't know what happened to him, or the wife gone too?
I don't know. I guess his wife is gone too. So I don't know. I don't know if he just like took off.
I guess
I don't even know. Like they said he was last seen in 1976 in Las Vegas, but they didn't say like where his wife was at that point or his kid. He had a kid too. So I don't know like what happened to the family.
Weird. Because you'd think his descendants would be around.
And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe that they traced him through brothers. You know what I mean? Like
but the brothers don't know who he is?
I think the brothers are dead too.
Brothers are dead too.
But yeah, I can't remember if that was him or if that was another case I was reading.
Yeah, maybe just the family died out.
Maybe it did. Or, you know, there's no fucking telling. But yeah, so Peggy Beck, like I said, they finally figured out who killed her after 56 years. Her parents are dead, obviously, but she still has 3 sisters that are still alive that have been following the case. So
maybe he died of John Doe.
Yeah, it could be. So
I mean, because there should be death records of everybody.
Yeah,
unless it was happened in a state where it wasn't computerized and his death was too far back to recomputerize it. So it's just on paper and it's in some fucking file somewhere.
Yeah,
maybe destroyed by fire, something like that.
But yeah, so they're asking, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is asking anybody. They have a tip line, 303-271-5612, or call Metro Denver Crime Stoppers for any information about whatever happened to that guy. If he's dead, if he's alive, where he's at, and all this other kind of shit, because they want to talk to him. So, you know. Is there anything else that you needed to go into?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm just reading what
Xanada says, I'm surprised you guys aren't terribly hungover after yesterday's show. We're seasoned drinkers. I was a little bit hungover this morning, but not too bad. Like as soon as I got up, I chugged a bunch of water and took 3 aspirin and I was pretty much fine. Just a little sleepy because I woke up a little earlier than I would have liked because Pooky was getting all up in my grill again.
I slept it off.
Yeah. Yeah, because you actually, Pooky woke you up too, but you actually went back to sleep. Yeah. I couldn't because it was like, once the sun comes up, I can't really go back to sleep again. It sucks. I wish I could take naps in the middle of the day, but I can't.
Anybody got any questions or anything? Anything you want to talk about?
Mango Badger says, I thought you were going to say he was dressed up like a Girl Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have raised some red flags, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What really tripped me out is if he could pull it off.
Yeah, maybe he was very pretty. Well, I saw a picture of him from back then. They did find a picture of him from back then, from the 60s. I couldn't see it was only like his head and shoulders. I don't know. I don't know if he could have pulled off a Girl Scout uniform. You know?
Nah. He must have died kind of just in a normal way. It was something that didn't really attract much attention, so it wasn't remembered.
Yeah.
Years after his death, it wasn't,
because I feel like that kind of crime and the fact that he had been arrested twice before for similar things, that would lead me to believe that if he was still alive after 1976, he would have done more of these. So now I'm kind of wondering if they're going to find out later on that he's actually some kind of serial killer. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he did change his name.
Yeah, because like I said, that was easier to do in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't keep track of people. They didn't have like nationwide databases and all that kind of crap.
Could be that he killed his family.
That occurred to me also. And
they were never found. Or
and like I said,
missing.
So there might be like a whole bunch of other unsolved crimes. Yeah. And now that they have his DNA profile and they know who that motherfucker is, maybe they can like plug in some other like unsolved murders from that area.
Could have been his wife and his kids, you know, weren't real well known, you know, or they didn't really have any family. So maybe you could disappear your own family and and if you change your name, no one would ask any questions.
True.
Because they were never reported missing. That was the weird thing about a lot of these fucking homicides we've been looking at. Is that you can kill a person and they are never even known. They're never even reported missing.
Yeah. Well, they say that too, don't they? Like if there's no body or nobody reports you missing, it's like nobody knows to look for you.
Yeah, it's like it didn't even happen.
Which is horrifying.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You think like there's this system in place, so this universal system that if a bitch fucking just drops off the radar that somebody somewhere goes in a control room somewhere goes, hey, what happened to that person? No, it's not. It's not at all.
It's not like a Matrix simulation where every single person is accounted for.
No, we've proved it over and over again that if you're killed and they find your body, but there isn't a bunch of relatives asking questions constantly and pestering the police. A lot of times they just kind of, well, we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah, whatever. Maybe we'll accidentally solve it. Well, like I said, they do have a lot of like crimes and shit like that on their plate. And I definitely do think that if you disappear, it really helps having a family that just like keeps hammering at the police.
Like, where is this person?
And like keeps going to the media and keeps talking about it and stuff like that. Because if you don't do that, then they're just going to forget about it. And like new crimes will happen and it'll just get buried underneath the pile and everyone's going to forget about it.
He may have disappeared his own family and then changed his name back in the 70s and then just vanished off into obscurity.
In a way, I kind of hope he's still alive so they can catch him.
At 80, it wouldn't. The chances of a man of that generation making it to 80 are pretty slim.
That's true. Although I would have bet,
unless you're very wealthy,
I would have bet a substantial sum of money that the Golden State Killer was dead, and they found his old ass, didn't they?
Yeah, but he wasn't 80 though.
That's true.
He was in his 70s still.
He was younger.
If you're a man to live into your 80s and an American man, you better have a lot of money.
Yeah,
because you know
and like you said, that generation particularly didn't usually live that long.
No. Smoking and drinking the way they did and eating what they ate.
Eating big old blue steaks and martinis for lunch every day.
If you look at people that are still in control of the world, like fucking Child Island Man and all of his buddies, the amount of money that they spend to stay operating in their 80s is fucking absorbent fucking amount of fucking medical bills. I mean, you know, they're flying fucking blood from fucking teenagers. They're flying it into their houses on fucking private helicopters, and they're treating them in their fucking mansions, giving them fucking blood transfusions. It wouldn't
surprise me if they're like growing their own clones like down in the fucking basement, like taking their organs. Shit.
Yeah, no, they're getting.
Although you don't need a whole clone nowadays, you can just kind of grow an organ.
They're evidently China's selling all those damn human body parts out of Uyghurs, those Uyghurs that they have in the concentration camps, and our rich people here have fucking first choice on them. Didn't like one of them guys, I think one of those Rockefellers, he's had 3 heart transplants.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the Rockefellers. Like he's in his 80s. He's on his 3rd heart transplant.
Think of all the people that could have used that.
That
old fucker.
Yeah.
Bee's Nest Movies wants to know boxers or briefs. I know the answer to that question.
Commando.
Yeah. That's what I was just gonna say.
Soldiers don't wear underwear. You don't get enough proper ventilation.
He likes to feel the breeze.
Yeah, you open your fly and just let the fucking circulation happen. Here's something a lot of people don't know. You know, Zach's gonna love this. Infantry troops are fucking shaved. They're porn stars. They're totally shaved, and they're fucking and they run commando. And the reason why we wore those big old long shirts is so you could walk around with your fly open. Because when you're rocking fucking carrying 130 pounds on your body, you need a lot of fucking ventilation. And if you have any fucking hair or anything like that, it just fucking rubs and fucking causes all the sweat and shit. And you're not taking a shower for fucking a month at a time sometimes. So you can't have any body hair.
Yeah.
You know, you're
because they'd smell you coming from a mile away.
You're basically taking a shower with fucking handy wipes.
Yeah.
We carried around a big old thing of handy wipes and just did it like that. And which is why I don't know, man. There are some females in the infantry. I don't know how. it wouldn't have worked out in my time. The way the infantry is, most of the units now are they're kind of like trained like world policemen, or at least they used to be, which is a fucking bad idea. That's not warfare. That's how you lose a war, to train that way. And they weren't doing much field time, and they weren't carrying much weight, and they just, it was more of a semi-mechanized fucking warfare that looked a lot like law enforcement. Females really couldn't have made it in the infantry fucking in my day. Not only sanitation, just how hard they were running you, no privacy. I don't think a woman would have been too fucking comfortable. If she was a lesbian, maybe, but not a straight woman, because there's no privacy.
Well, yeah,
none. And privacy would mean lack of security. What, you're gonna go walk off and take a dump?
Yeah,
in enemy territory, you gotta have somebody guarding you.
Yeah.
So it's just not. In my day, women didn't want to do that. They would say they'd want to do that, but then when they saw the amount of work and the suffering and it's one long fucking tough man competition. It's a war between tough guys. If you're tough, then you're too fucking weak. You gotta be tougher than tough. It was fucking hyper masculine, hyper macho. You did things the hard way to prove how hard you were. In other words, they're the kind of motherfuckers that would put a rock in your shoe because your shoes were too comfortable. That was the fucking mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? This field problem's too easy. Let's not sleep today. Matter of fact, let's not sleep for 2 days.
Yeah.
This will kind of up the difficulty level. So this whole thing of making things easy, that this didn't exist in my time. It was brutal, kind of like the Navy of the 1700s. It was brutal.
Yeah.
If it wasn't brutal, then it was fake. That's pussy shit there.
Somebody asked if we were going to do a show about Michael Aquino and the Temple of Set. That is actually on my list for the next couple months. It'll be up in the next couple months.
I'm not sure how interesting that would be. Well, maybe it would. Aquino kind of.
Everything's kind
nowadays
of interesting if you come at it from the.
Nowadays, that shit would probably be up there with LARPing, live action role play and stuff.
We can talk about, actually, if you want to do that, we can talk about that, and we can talk about like the Church of Satan and like how they've been trolling people in a delightful way, because that kind of shit cracks me up.
Yeah, but what I think the best thing about the Satanists is, I think, is that they've convinced people to take them seriously. The fucking Satanists, the whole thing is to fucking troll.
Yeah.
I mean, they do believe what they're saying, but they also troll the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Which, okay.
Which, like I said, it's
like, oh, you're going to put that, okay, you're going to put a Jesus statue? We're going to fucking put a statue
of a big old Baphomet.
Yeah.
Because we get to do that too.
Which I just think is hilarious.
That is hilarious. Well, it's the best way to do that, because it's like pointing out the hypocrisy. Stop Propaganda says, did they make you do the ass wipe with only one sheet of toilet paper? I've been told that, and it may be a lie.
Where? No. In basic training and stuff, and in your units, you can use all the toilet paper you want. But when you're in the field, especially if you've been out there for a couple days eating MREs, I mean, you're trying to make me say some graphic shit.
Like that's never gonna stop you.
The turd that MREs make is almost kind of like greasy Play-Doh. You don't need very much toilet paper, especially if you don't have any hair crack hair because you shaved. The MREs come with toilet paper in it. It's enough. And then you can use a fucking handy wipe. You used to carry, like I said, those big old things of fucking handy wipes. And just kind of sanitize yourself.
See, that's thinking ahead, that they put the toilet paper in with the MRE.
Yeah,
MREs
like
here, it goes in this end, and then here's that for when it comes out the other end.
Yeah, and it's
all self-contained.
You have enough. You have enough. Now, you can get along without it too. If you know how to use sand and dirt the right way, and you have water supplies. You
get your corn cob, a pine cone.
You can be totally caveman. People think that living in the wild is difficult. It's not. You adapt to it very quickly. And then it's also not very dirty. You can stay very clean in that environment if you know how to do it. Indians did it. You know what I mean? You don't really, as long as you have water, access to water, you can stay clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your hygiene is actually good. You can clean your teeth, a bunch of different ways to clean your teeth. You can jump into water every day and take a bath, clean your hair.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of stuff you can do.
Like you said, as long as there's water.
Yeah.
Miles Safe asks, please tell us about all the different projects you both are currently working on. YouTube vids, books, games, puzzles, and artworks, etc.
Yeah, Jenny can tell you.
So, yeah, as far as YouTube videos, we kind of just wing it. These ones, like especially the sidetracks and the matinees and stuff like that, we just kind of do those like either on the day or the day before. Like I don't plan for those. The regular YouTube videos, I usually have them planned out like a month in advance. Like I'll write down like what we're doing like every week that month, you know, at the beginning of the month, I figure it out. And I do that sometimes with the movie retrospectives too. Not always, because sometimes I like move them around. Like if somebody sends us a DVD or something, like an old movie I was wanting to do, like comes up on Shudder or something, and I'll switch something around. As far as books go, I'm working on Faceless Villain 4, which will be, I'm not sure what I probably call it Faceless Villain Millennium or something like that, because it's going to be unsolved murders from 2000 to 2019. So I'm hoping that done by the end of the year, but we'll see, because, you know, I've got a bunch of other things. We're doing the cookbook, obviously. Again, I want to get that done by Christmas, because we've got like all the recipes, like what we want in there, and we just kind of have to sit down and write them all out, and like, because we have them all, like we have them all the ones we want to do, and we have them kind of separated into categories, and then I just have to figure out like how I want to best like put the shit together. Yeah. And like I said, I have a whole bunch of board games and card games that I've been working on. I just uploaded a bunch of them to the Game Crafter, and I'm going to slowly start ordering proof copies of them, like, you know, because they're kind of expensive. So I just try to get them like one at a time before they can go on sale. And the one I'm working on right now is actually, it's kind of based on, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but it's like a really big board game that's kind of based on Halloween, like trick-or-treating candy type of stuff. It's going to be a thing with like little characters, and they're going to be getting ready for Halloween. They're going to go buy candy. They're going to go buy little costumes that they're going to like, you're going to put the costume like on them. And then there's going to be like a demon that's going to come after them. Like, and they have to change costumes and all this kind of stuff. So I'm working on that one. I haven't decided what I'm going to call it yet. But that'll probably be the next one that's done. But like I said, I have one that's like absinthe based. It's called the Green Hour, that has like all absinthe bars. I have an Edgar Allan Poe trivia one. I have one based on, you know, Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, Haunted Summer type of thing. I have, it's called Villa Diodati. I have one called that, and just a whole bunch of other ones too. So that I'm hoping to have all that up soon as well. I also want to do a board game based on the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Like I want to do like a German expressionist kind of look, because that's just one that I want to do. I haven't figured out all the rules yet, but yeah, I'm working on a Halloween themed one, like Halloween candy. They're asking about the pandemic in Florida. Okay, the pandemic in Florida. I mostly just kept my oh, hey, let me see them flash bulbs. I'm seeing flash bulbs over there. Oh, thank you. Time for a flash bulb. Yes, right. We live in Seminole County. Yeah. It's a pretty big county. Next to Orange County. Right next to Orange County. So I mostly just watched the results for our county. Because if you look at the damn Corona map, the danger that this virus presents really is location specific. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously it's going to spread faster in places with higher population density, and also subway systems and shit like that. So when you look at Seminole County, where we are, there were only like six to this day, because I just checked it a couple days ago. There's only like 600 confirmed cases in Seminole. Yeah, in Seminole County. I mean, Seminole isn't a huge county, but it's very it's not rural, but it's like suburban, so it's kind of like spread out. It's not like a huge population. Out of those 600 cases, only 14 people died, and they were all old people. So it's not a factor here for people of our age. But like I said, cities are different, like, you know, Orlando, Tampa, all this, they've had like a huge spike. Because a lot of shit reopened and people. Well, they're on public transportation. Some of them. There's a bunch of different factors. There's demonstrations going on. People really don't give a shit about it. They're getting it. They're spreading it. There have been confirmed cases, and there have been deaths, but most people catch it and they're asymptomatic. So, and they don't even.
like I got sick. I didn't go to the hospital. Didn't even report it. For all I know, that was COVID. It was around that time.
Yeah, it was earlier than than everything like not locked down, but yeah, it could have been.
But here's the deal. When I was sick during that time in Tijuana, Conovatlan's dad, who was in his 70s, died. The cause of death was an anomalous flu.
Yeah. So it might have been that.
Yeah, and that's what the Mexican doctors said. And this is before COVID supposedly had gotten here. But the outbreak was happening in China. So me and Con believe that COVID was here and in Mexico weeks before they locked down.
Well, yeah, it probably was.
It was already
because
here.
There's no way that
because there were Chinese here.
Well, that's what I mean. There's no way that, and if you didn't really know, you know what I mean? Because it seemed like it took a while, like for, panic about it to kind of set in. And, they didn't lock down. It's like all it takes is one person, like over on a plane, like, a tourist or something like that. And you spread it to like everybody, especially if you don't know you have it. So it's like, it wouldn't surprise me if they found out that it was here, like before everyone was kind of completely aware
there's
of
a lot of panic mongering and politics is behind it. And the upcoming election has a lot to do with it. As soon as I started seeing that certain behaviors were going down party lines, I realized I knew what I was looking at. Democrats are wearing masks and Republicans weren't. Democrats want to lock things down to Republicans. So as soon as I started seeing a split in the in the thinking, the ideology behind it, I knew that there's gonna be a bunch of fakery one way or the other. Just look at the fucking amount of people that actually catch it and recover. The recovery is very high. You look at who dies and you break down the ages of who dies. Old people die. There has been a couple of young people nationwide, but a couple young people die of any fucking type of damn flu every year. Or there was a little kid that died, fucking guy that I worked with fucking years back. His friend's little kid died from a cut on his ankle because it got mud in it because he was digging outside. Just some kind of weird fucking parasite got him and killed the little kid.
You remember that? What was that show that we always used to watch that was on like the Discovery Health or whatever it was? Like Monsters Inside Me, was that what it was called? That's a fucking horrifying show.
You could be killed by shit you never even thought of.
That's what I mean. You could just be out like fucking digging in your yard or like just taking a walk or something like that. You get bit by some mosquito or you like trip on something and get some weird bacteria like in your leg and you're fucking...
Kid cut his ankle on a root while he was digging out in the backyard. And the hole was only 8 inches deep. Just had his feet in the hole. Yeah. And something got into that cut that killed him. And he fought for his life for weeks in the hospital. So no, little kids catch it and survive. Young people catch it and survive. It's mostly something that kills old people that have a whole bunch of other problems. Like my dad would be a good candidate to die from this. All the heart bypasses and fucking diabetes. He has a lot of other health issues. My dad chronologically is in his 70s, but because of his diabetes, you look at him, he looks like a man in his late 80s. You know what I mean? He's very worn down. A lot of his teeth are missing, falling out from fucking lack. He's got very bad blood flow in his legs. They'll probably cut his legs off eventually.
That's very common with diabetes.
Yeah, it's just. Luckily, I didn't get that shit. I dodged that bullet.
Well, you keep like getting it checked because
I dodged that bullet. Well, I would have showed symptoms already.
I don't know. I think it's something you have to keep monitoring, like over because you never know when it's gonna like fucking.
Well, if it starts kicking in this late, then I don't have enough time left in my life for it to really do a lot of damage to me. He's been fighting it since his 30s.
Yeah, that's true. He did.
Okay, so it's a whole lifetime worth of fighting against that shit. So it's just it's not good to catch the shit if you're old and you fucking have a bunch of
well, the thing about it,
bunch of comorbidities. You're overweight. You got you're bad health. You're older. You could kill you. Now, some people are saying there's like some people think there's a racial, kind of a racial element to it because it seems like black people have a higher mortality rate. But one of the explanations I heard is because it also tends towards comorbidities. Like a lot of them are also overweight and a lot of them also have diabetes and shit like that. And it's just kind of skewing the statistics slightly. That it's not really race that's doing it. It's other things.
Yeah, it's other factors.
It's other factors. It's diet and diet with diabetes and overweight.
Yeah, or they might live in communities
in
that
areas
are
where
more
there's a higher population density.
Yeah,
and
sure. They live in more urban areas.
Yeah, and it starts skewing the statistics. But man, I don't think it's a huge threat. I think without it, just open everything up and allow that fucking nature to take its course, get the economy back running, let the people who are going to die, let them die, and it'll go back to normal a lot faster. If you fucking stretch this shit out too long, people will die for a bunch of other reasons, like economies start collapsing and starvation and civil war. And because this damn brewing civil war has a lot to do with the lockdowns. One's feeding off the other, the frustrations. The only way to get outside without getting arrested in these areas is to go protest. You go to a church in that area, they'll fucking arrest you. But if you can go out and protest, though, it doesn't make any sense. It's politics. It's politics. Somebody
asked if are we just a YouTube show now? Or are we still concentrating on the podcast? I do actually put up audio versions of most of the shows. I've been slacking on doing audio versions of the matinees just because I've had some technical issues. But generally, the movie retrospectives, the witching hour, and the regular episodes, I almost always put the audio version up as well. And it should be going to iTunes. If it's not, I don't know what the problem is, but I'd have to go check, I guess, if it's not coming up on iTunes.
Yeah, we started off kind of as a podcast, but we just evolved into a YouTube show.
Yeah, and especially now that we started, live streaming, we have the video component now, which actually made things a lot easier.
You actually might want to drop podcast from the name, but we do put a podcast up. It's just that we have no interaction with podcast people. They don't contact us. They don't seem to pay us.
Well, not that I know of. It's it seems like most of the interaction is YouTube.
Yeah.
Or people that watch the show on YouTube. I have gotten messages from a couple that, that listen to me on on podcast things, but usually I'm not contacted by that. Yeah. So, wow, we've gone on for an hour already. Yeah. You ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, I guess so. Unless anybody has any other questions before we get off there.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll probably be on tomorrow, probably around the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to be reviewing a new horror movie called Scare Package, which is a horror anthology that's on Shudder. So we're probably going to watch that tonight and review it tomorrow afternoon. So I guess that'll do it for Sunday. Have a good rest of your weekend. And we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.